This video is about how can you achieve success in project requirements. So first of all, let me just say I absolutely love the person who wrote this question in, because the fabulous thing about it is the fact that you're questioning whether or not you can achieve success in project requirements is a fabulous first step. So we're going to play with that idea. And we're also going to play with the idea that says that managing requirements isn't about gathering wish lists, which a lot of people have treated it like for many years, that it is much more about building a contract with a customer and defining what success really means. Hi, I'm Jennifer Kenny. I'm the best-selling author of The Innovation Mindset and the award-winning book 100% Capacity. I work with Fortune 500 and mid-sized companies who are delivering on projects in highly complex technical environments. And I work with the project leaders and the technical development people to be able to deliver project success, not just on paper, but in terms of real business impact. So when we think about project requirements, and anyone who knows me knows that I've got a little bit of an allergy to the term, and jokes aside, the reason why I think it's not a great way of talking about what it is that we're doing is that we think about gathering requirements as if requirements were something that was out there that we would gather, like gathering flowers or gathering trophies or, building a collection of eggs. And we look at it like something that's already out there, like a thing that we can gather. I think if we think of it in those terms, we're setting ourselves up for failure. If instead we think of it in terms of how do I define what success means for my customer, then what we're doing is we're recognizing your customer is a person. They live in a world where context and concepts and thinking and measurements and goals are constantly changing. And they also have an idea of how it is you and your team can support them to add value to the company, or you and your team can help them deliver a product to market that is going to be very successful. So if we recognize the dynamic nature of the environment that we're working in and the complexity of the environment that we're working in, and we recognize different people's desires and goals and ambitions and wishes and hopes and measurements and KPIs and OKRs, then what we do is we set ourselves up to recognize that while we're doing a project, the context that we're doing the project in is changing, sometimes drastically, hopefully not so drastically, and sometimes, but mostly continuously over the duration of our project. The other thing that happens as we start thinking about what does it actually mean to deliver customer success for a project is that we also begin to recognize that our own understanding of what the project can deliver on, what the technology is going to look like, what the ultimate success means for us and for our team begins to shift and change. And if you think about the idea that we are what I refer to as co-inventing, in other words, inventing together from positions of equality and positions of different sets of mastery, then what we're doing is we're bringing my mastery to the table in terms of understanding the technology and what the technology can bring, my customer's mastery together with their understanding of the business and how the business runs and operates and what they want to make happen in the business and the value that the business delivers to its ultimate customers. We're bringing those two things together and we're co-inventing. We're doing almost like jazz improv is the way I think about it, is someone puts something out there, someone else builds something on top of it. We're not necessarily bringing in a lot of negative judgment. We're not saying no to possibilities. We're exploring possibilities in a conversation for speculation. And ultimately we move to a conversation for design, and then we move to a conversation for commitment. What we're doing with our customers is we're looking to co-invent with them in a way that together we design and we hold the commitment and the promise of what does it mean to satisfy the customer? How do we measure it? What does it look like? What does it feel like? How do we describe it? And that becomes our requirements, knowing that that is going to change over time. When we think about requirements, we think about something that is static. We think about something that we can gather. We think about a thing. We think about a document. We don't think about a dialogue and a conversation with our customers. Now, part of the reason why we don't do that is because customers' wishes change throughout a project. And we all know that if we can get a project locked in with requirements and we can get the technology built fast, then what we do is we increase our chances of delivering what they originally contracted for. But we don't necessarily increase our chances of delivering what actually satisfaction might mean for them. If instead we set ourselves up to recognize the dynamic environment that we're working in and that they're working in, then what we do is we set ourselves up to be able to realize that we're holding a core base of technology that we're building, and we don't want to have to throw it away and rebuild every month. But what we also want to do is we want to recognize the changes that are happening outside in the world and how we actually adapt the technology as effectively as we possibly can to deliver satisfaction for them. If we take 2 years, for example, to deliver some new tech or some new product, and we lock in the market from 2 years ago, what we're doing is we're coming out with something that is now 2 years old, and we've probably either missed the market or one of our competitors has moved faster and come into the market with something that is more relevant and more current than what it is we delivered on. So it's a really fine balance, and it's a hard balance, but if we think exclusively about project requirements as a thing that we gather, we are setting ourselves up for failure. So step number 1 is we co-design conditions of satisfaction, definition of done, customer satisfaction and success with our customers. And then what we have to do is we have to make them testable. So we have to have an understanding of whether or not our technology delivers on a particular promise that we're making to a customer. Is it an improvement in cycle time? Is it a new product that we're bringing to market that will gain us X amount of market share? Over what period of time? Is it something that will allow us to be able to reduce risk of some other technology that we're putting out into the world? What exactly are the parameters that we are looking for to be able to make our definition or our shared understanding of success something that we can actually test and certify and sign off on and declare satisfaction on? Many times what we do is we recognize that there are business results and we recognize there are technology results, mostly which center around user adoption and being done. And what we miss is that there are metrics that we should be designing together that will actually determine what satisfaction means for us and for our customer together. One of the things that I've learned over the years and that I've seen consistently with clients that I work with is that if we think in terms of exclusively in terms of requirements, what we're looking to do is we're looking to have our customers, I rudely refer to it as sign off in blood as to what it is the requirements are, because we're trying to make them into a thing and we're trying to make them static. If instead what we do is we have cycles of validation and cycles of improvement and cycles of education and engagement with our customers, now it does take time from them, but ultimately it saves us time down the road. Because what we can see, and this is data coming from IBM, is that fixing requirements late costs 10 times more than it does to get them aligned or get them correct in the first place. The work that we put into the thinking, the design, the trust building, the understanding, the interpretation, the co-creation, the co-invention is ultimately going to save us up to 10x down the road in terms of trying to fix things after the fact. The other thing that is very useful as we think about not requirements, but about what does satisfaction mean for our customers as we deliver technology, is to really begin to look at how are we dynamically tracking both the backlogs and the traceability. There are many instances where we deliver technology that either has a big tech debt, a big backlog associated with it, or we're delivering something that is a Frankenstein monster that doesn't fit together exceptionally well. And if we understand the dynamic nature of our customers' requirements, we position ourselves to be able to better deliver on something that has a high level of coherence. What we're doing is we're asking everybody in the project to move forward with the idea that instead of just doing tasks, developing code, doing tests, checking things off in Jira, that they are ultimately responsible for, and it's part of their mindset and part of their thinking, that they're responsible for the coherence of the technology that they're delivering. What I've seen on many projects is we take incredibly brilliant, incredibly well-educated people who have a lot of depth of technical knowledge, and we don't ask them to expand their thinking to a depth of understanding of how the business creates value. We sort of almost protect them or second them away and we allow them to be able to not be mindful of the value that they're producing and not be mindful of the ultimate customer who they're looking to create value for. One of the things that I found is a useful practice when we think about requirements and we think about definition of success with a customer is that we really need to be able to do that in the context of scoping. And I've done another video on scope that hopefully you'll find helpful. You can find it here. But what I'm interested in here is the idea that says that what we're doing is we are looking at what are the essential elements of whatever it is we're delivering, whether it's a piece of technology or whether it's a product or whether it's technology going on to a product, is that we have an understanding of what is the bare minimum. Because what happens over time is when an organization builds out a really good team, which hopefully you're a part of or you're leading, and they see what technology can do for them, they tend to add more, add more, add more. You end up with scope creep, the worst kind of scope mismanagement. And you end up in a situation where we're not really looking at the absolute essentials and we're not differentiating between what is essential and what is nice to have. Once your people start showing up gathering requirements, they end up being wish lists. And we have to distinguish between what is required to deliver success and what is a wish list. And sometimes we identify things on the wish list that are absolutely critical for user adoption or for customer adoption or for customer wow factor or appreciation. And we need to have practices in place to be able to distinguish between what is absolutely essential, which is the core of what we're delivering, and then what is going to give us wins in the adoption space, in the customer satisfaction space, and begin to set up parameters for ourselves to be able to manage that more effectively. So we're introducing those kind of conversations into the project conversations and the ongoing status checks that we're doing with our teams. What I've seen over the years is that if we do not do any of this work up front as we set up and structure the project, what we end up with is effectively a tsunami of requirements coming at us, a tsunami of nice to haves being dumped on us. We end up with people trying to fix the problem by potentially adding more requirements and more technological demands to the project. And what I see more and more each day is the role of the project lead, the role of the PMO office and all of the people in it, the role of the people who are funding the projects is to be able to create a level of alignment and understanding around what success means and what definition of done means. We spend incredibly little time on that, and we spend tons of time on trying to band-aid the fact that we didn't do that in the first place. As you start thinking about project success and you think about thinking differently about requirements, I have a white paper that I think will help you and a number of other videos in this series, but I have a white paper that I think will help you, and it's called Execution by Design. It's a white paper that is free. It is available on my website. My website is www.jenniferkenny.com, and the paper is called Execution by Design. The purpose of the paper is to really seed some of this thinking and to help you begin to put it into practice. If you found this video useful, absolutely go and read the white paper. Let me know what you think. And to the person who asked the question, how can you achieve success in managing project requirements? Absolutely love the way you're thinking, and I wish you all the best of luck as you do that. Take care.